Welcome to Let Me Know How It Is, a pop culture podcast about animation, TV, movies, comics, and more. We're reviewing the latest from the MCU, Fantastic Four First Steps. I'm Zack Slater.
I'm Frank Malman.
And I'm Clifton.
Like with our Superman review, Fantastic Four is just completing its first weekend at the box office at the time of this recording, so we're giving you a spoiler warning for the entire film here. Fantastic Four First Steps stars Pedro Pascal, Vanessa Kirby, Eben Moss-Bachrach, Joseph Quinn, and Julia Garner. The film was directed by Matt Shakman. Screenplay credits by Josh Friedman, Eric Pearson, Jeff Kaplan, and Ian Springer, with story by credit Eric Pearson, Jeff Kaplan, Ian Springer, and Kat Wood. All right, little fun fact about Matt Shakman for you Just the 10 of Us fans. he was the son in that show. I just found that out today.
No,
Did you guys know that?
I didn't know that.
No, I didn't know that at all.
Just the 10 of Us.
I remember the show. I remember that show with the coach,
Yeah.
right? The spin-off from Growing Pains.
Right, I was a big
Yes.
fan of the show.
Yeah, me too. But I looked him up because I was curious to see like what else was in his credits, because I didn't know him, as far as a director. And it was like child star also, and I'm like, what? I'm like, just the 10 of us.
Yeah.
There we go. You learn something every day.
Mm-hmm.
And he was also the director of WandaVision. So
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, he was.
that's a bigger. Yep.
All right, I want to start with the setting for this movie, I think.
Okay.
Just because I think that, I quite frankly, I think it's the first thing you notice. I think the setting here does a lot more work up front in catching your attention than some of the other Marvel movies, some of the other superhero movies. So I wanted to start with that, kind of get your sense of this sort of alternate 1960s that it takes place in.
Mm-hmm.
Rewind to when you first heard the Fantastic Four was coming out in the MCU. Would you have expected that this was going to be like the take of it? Like it was going to go here?
I think we talked about it at one point or another. I don't know if we talked about it on the podcast, but I think we talked about it amongst ourselves. The idea that maybe that's what this needed.
Okay.
Was to ground it in its original time. I mean, you're talking like the 60s is the time of the space race and Camelot and JFK and, a lot of upheaval, a lot of change in the US. And then you get like the Fantastic Four and Marvel emerging. So I kind of think it had to be like this, but I don't know if it had to be like this. I think the aesthetic works.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fun time to play with. I thought honestly they would go a lot harder with it. I thought there would be a lot more allusions with all the stuff that I just mentioned. Like I didn't think we'd actually get like, the Cuban Missile Crisis or the Bay of Pigs or anything like that. But I thought we would get something that might have rooted it in what, I was because I kept trying to find what 60s are we dealing with? What's a matter of public record? What's a matter of their history? That kind of thing. Because,
right.
In the comics, at one point, Ben and Reed are World War II vets at one point. Yeah. And then as the time shifts and the goalposts move, they're no longer that. They just, they're college roommates and they may have had some military service and that's not, or they may not go in the current origin. So I was just, the whole time I was trying to get a kind of my bearings as to which part of the 60s we were in, but it didn't really give it to us. I mean, I guess if I look more like at the advertising and stuff,
right.
Some of the background stuff, maybe I'll, get a better idea, but I think it worked. I think it was a really cool place to set it.
Now, I know for years and years, it had been a fan thing where people would always say, like on the forums or whatever, that like, oh, it has to be a period piece. Like Fantastic Four has to be a period piece. And I never felt like it had to be. I felt like as long as you get the family works in that dynamic works anywhere, anytime.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Marvel split the difference on this because they fell into the multiverse. They had it to play with.
Right.
Like I remember when we first did our first reaction to the first teaser image, like what was that, like a year and a half ago, when they first released that poster image that looked like the Norman Rockwell painting, kind of like Saturday Evening Post type thing.
Yeah.
And my theory then was that it was going to be modern day in another Earth. And I think it is.
Yeah.
They don't tell us, but I think they're contemporary to the world we're in. They're just on a world where they're still very much mid-century modern is their aesthetic. We should say it's Earth 828 because that is the first thing that they show us on screen in the movie. It says Earth 828.
Right.
And I think that's what it is. I think it's a mid-century modern Earth in present day, contemporary to all the rest of the stuff we're in, just on another Earth in the multiverse.
Yeah. I was just, the only thing I was going to add, Clifton, was the fact that it's due to the fact that Fantastic Four is so big, coming out of the 60s, you do have that whole thing of, I mean, it's a Silver Age, conceit that a lot of characters are either test pilots or there's some kind of rocketry involved. And I think a lot of that was because of what the country was going through at that time.
Right.
That's the whole idea of whether it was to beat the Russians to space or we were just trying to fire off rockets. It's like Ben Grimm is a test pilot. Hal Jordan's a test pilot. Larry Trainor's a test pilot. That whole thing of the right stuff. That's a lot of the backdrop as well.
Right.
For a lot of this.
Yeah.
Zach, what did you think?
Well, I mean, Clifton, I agree. I mean, I have some friends that thought the same thing, that it should be a period piece. The Fantastic Four kind of doesn't work modern day. Or not that it doesn't work, but there's something about that time period in which it came out where you had sort of like the optimism of the 50s, the space race stuff, World War II in the recent past, where we're, like kind of all intersecting. We're like Reed had all of these attributes all at once. Veteran, scientist, right?
Astronaut.
Yeah, astronaut, all that stuff. And I agree. I mean, I think that there is something about that moment. That said, I don't think that it's completely necessary. And I do think that this movie is in the 60s while not being in the 60s at all.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like it's just, I mean, it really is just kind of like window dressing and set dressing and stuff like that. I kind of like that we didn't have the weight that this wasn't like an X-Men First Class thing. We're like, oh, okay, here we go. Like, here's the Bay of Pigs happening. Right. Sort of in the background, you know what I mean? It's sort of like where there was something that happened that sort of like told you it's like this is the year it's supposed to be. I like that there's sort of like no, it's sort of like this is just a feeling that we went for. And so for that, what did I think of it? I loved it. Like I love I just love that stuff. Like that, seeing that image, New York looking that way, the clothes looking that way, like it just makes me feel like warm.
Okay.
And cozy and like, like I could look at that stuff all day long. Like I just thought I say a lot of stuff reminds me of Darwin Cook, but yeah, this one reminds me a lot of Darwin Cook, especially like the spacesuits that we saw. The spacesuits look just like the Challengers of the Unknown stuff in New Frontier. And like, I liked it so much. I was at Target over the weekend and I was looking at the Pops. And the Pops that came out, they're all in the spacesuits. And I'm like, I kind of want to get all of these. Yeah, no, I just like, I just loved it. But what do you think? My question for you guys is like, why? Why do you think they went for it?
I mean, in addition to the look and the feel, like it does carry a lot of weight. I think it carries a lot of narrative weight as the story goes on. That this story, which we'll get into plot points, as we go. But I think the plot points don't work if you're not in this kind of idealized, kind of, reflective fantasy world that they made out of this, that they made this like Norman Rockwell world. So stuff works later in the movie because of it. Like you buy stuff in the movie because of this like picturesque ideal world that they created, that they live in. So I think it's a cool visual, of course.
Yeah.
Right.
But it also carries a lot of narrative weight, I think, that we'll get into.
I guess you're sort of like referring to like how the public views the Fantastic Four.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think in a modern setting, I think you're right. I do think for the audience that some degree of cynicism takes over. Right. Like even if it just looks like today.
Right.
Yeah. And you're right. I do think, okay, that's an interesting point. My thought process too, and I wonder what you're thinking, Frank, but my thought process was that like, it's also used as a way to kind of like differentiate this world from the rest of the MCU. It kind of like tells you, I mean, you could say this is a different universe, but I like that every brick,
right,
in the scenery makes you go like, not Iron Man.
Sure.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And like, and you are, if you're going to do multiverse, which they are, like, use it, like, make it stand out.
Yeah. Don't be afraid.
If you're going to go for it, make a statement out of those other worlds.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
Like, show us something narratively different.
Yep.
To make them stand apart.
Yeah. These shorthands are important. Like you said, set dressing does a lot for these kind of like differentiating things, style. I mean, I'm thinking mirror in Star Trek, where it's like mustache in different costume. And it's like clearly, okay. Not the bridge we're used to, not the Enterprise we're used to.
Right.
So
the other thing that I got from it was it felt a little Jetsony.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The flying cars. I mean, the Fantastic Car is not the typical Fantastic Car we get. Not that I didn't like the Fantastic Car that we got, but it did feel a little, granted, it didn't fold itself into a briefcase,
right?
Which I thought would have been cool, but I did get that feeling. Of course, when looking at this kind of retro future world,
right? Yeah.
I dig also sort of the technology, sort of like retrofit fit into like vacuum tubes and stuff, where they still have like kind of like fat monitors. Like they don't have like high resolution,
right?
I like that aesthetic, and I just like that it was also like colorful too. Like it remind me of kind of a weird pull, but because that's kind of set in a future thing, but it reminded me of the Spike Jonze movie Her. Like that movie does a lot with like pastel-y kind of like colors, and I just think of like that set that Reed did his science show on, and like just how blue it is, and then like their what's the what like his laboratory was like all red and stuff like that. I just kind of liked how colorful it was. And there's a moment when they just get back to Earth and they're in an auditorium, and like every seat in that auditorium is like this bright blue, and and it was a moment that took me out for a second, because I went like, is that a real place, or did they build that? Like, did they did they have to like upholster like all those chairs?
Right.
Like it was kind of breathtaking in a weird way.
Like we said, you're definitely not going to mistake it for any other Marvel movie.
No.
That's the one thing. It will definitely, it's definitely a moment in the history of the MCU that is, again, a movie that is different, and I think that's a good thing.
Okay. So I think, all right, so safe to say, I think we all like the setting, and we all kind of like the look of it. So yes, more of that, please.
Yeah,
I'll take more.
Yeah, of course.
All right, let's get into the team.
Okay.
You guys fire away. Who do you want to start with?
We can start with Reed.
Okay.
I like this Reed a lot. So I kind of wish we didn't start on this one, but
okay. We don't have to.
No, it's fine. We'll go into it. Just because like Reed is a very tough character to crack, I think, in my opinion, in any form. There's other characters where I've seen that character and thought like, this is it, 100%, this is that character. I don't think I've ever seen a Reed in any version where I felt like it was 100% completely Reed to me. I've found lots of Reeds that worked for the story we're given, but I can't think of any where I was like, that's it, that's 100% the one.
Right.
And this movie serves to that end too, where I was like, he definitely works. Like, I like him and he works in the story we're given. There's just still something where it wasn't my like quintessential Reed, which I don't even know exactly what it is. I just know I haven't gotten it yet.
Right.
Okay.
But he works for the story. Like the performance works for this story. And that's what I feel about this one.
Was there anything in that this movie did that made you feel like whatever ingredient's missing, that it's coming down the line? Did you get that feeling?
No.
Okay.
Well,
Frank says no. Hang on, Clifton. What did you think?
I'm not as certain as Frank, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'd have to see more, like in the next adventure.
Okay, Frank, what were you going to say?
Well, I mean, I've talked about Reed before when we've talked about the Fantastic Four and various things on the podcast, and I said, I'm a big fan of crazy, wild-eyed Reed. I like when Reed gets angry. I like when Reed has, when he's finally shaken out of whatever his deal is. of being kind of stoic and even, and he gets, he has some emotion and he does something.
Mhm.
Again, it was one of things, spoiler alert, I saw this with my family in the afternoon, and then I saw it again that night with Zack. And it was one of those things where we talked a little bit. We try to save as much as possible for the podcast. I'm always a big fan of Reed stealing the rocket ship. I think it speaks to character. I think it's a defiant moment. I think it's a moment of conviction for the character. I've never been a big fan of, no, they were astronauts and they just got on a rocket and went out to space. Not that that's not incredibly brave or bold, but it's not as bold as we're going to sneak to a base and steal a rocket. And the other thing that I thought was, there are things I liked about Pedro Pascal. I felt it could have been direction. It could have just been the moment. It could have been my take. I felt he was a little flat in spots, but again, I don't know what that was, him or the direction. And then the other thing that I thought was interesting that I'd read about it was what I did like, though. I'll go with that. What I did like was that Pedro Pascal, with the lines about, I'm always thinking about things so the bad things don't happen, which I thought was a good take, right? And again, it made me question, that I saw an interview with Pedro Pascal where someone asked, is this version of Reed neurodivergent? And does he have the ability to turn off his thoughts? Does he have this constant push to try and fix things? And that's an interesting take for Reed. When you consider takes in the comics, like the Council of Reeds and other thing that we've seen, if he has that as a situation that he's constantly dealing with, as well as, inventing all these amazing things and being this great scientist. But yeah, I'm interested to see what you guys thought, because I think much like I think we talked about when they cut the contest out of Wonder Woman. I think Wonder Woman defying her mother speaks to character. When she feels that she's right, she's going to do what she needs to do to have make things happen. And I think that's important for Reed's origin too. Is that no, he's willing to do what he needs to when the time comes.
Okay. I'm not sure I agree.
Okay.
Completely.
That's fine. We don't have to.
I agree. I agree with you that it's bolder for sure. I think.
Right.
I'm just wondering. I'm just kind of feeling like I don't know that I need it.
Right.
I think for me, I can eat very easily that the smartest man in the world, was able to sort of get the science apparatus to kind of rally around and be like, yes, we should go to space for whatever experiment you're doing that puts you in place for cosmic radiation to give you powers, etc.
Right.
That's but I will concede also that I do think that you guys have a more vast Fantastic Four reading list under your guys' belt than I do. My Fantastic Four experience is truly exclusively Stan and Jack.
Okay.
Right?
Not a bad place to be.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's 99% of Fantastic Four that I've read is Stan and Jack Kirby.
Mm-hmm.
And the rest of it is a little bit of John Byrne here and there, and I don't know, Ultimate, and not a whole lot of stuff. So that said, I do think, at least for as far as I went into their run, I do think that Pedro is really good at sort of the Jack Kirby iteration.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I'm not sure that it captures sort of the layers that are added after the fact,
okay,
that other creators had. I think for this setting it works. I think for this tale it works. I think also, I guess one thing that I was kind of happy that wasn't there is I'm happy that he wasn't neglectful.
Right. That is the trick. That is what one thing I'm really thinking of when I said Reed's a tricky character sometimes, is that's a trick that a lot of people fall into, is where does preoccupation stop and negligence begins?
Yeah.
And in the comics, people have been on the wrong side of that.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think truly, I think that that's kind of the way most people see the character.
Well, there is a fair amount. But again, okay, we'll get into it when we get into the characters, because again, I talked to you about this when we were there that night. But a lot of that early Stan and Jack stuff is not only is I've got to go in the lab and be there for 48 or 72 hours by myself and work this through. A lot of it is, Sue, why are you bothering me? I'm busy
Right.
doing sciencey stuff. So
Right.
when you like, and again, I'm not saying let's bring that back. I'm just saying, I don't want him to be neglectful and abusive on top of it.
Right. Isn't there like some old panels where it's like, but you're a woman?
Right.
Right. There's definitely some of that too, where it's kind of like, well, you couldn't. It's.
You're right. You're right. I mean, you're right. I mean, I am doing a fair amount of modern day retconning in my head.
Right.
For that sort of thing.
For stuff that was a product of its time.
Even still, I do think it is a product of its time. Even still, I do think that, like, I don't think that that's meant to kind of come off the way that people read it now, though.
Right.
I think it's meant to kind of come off as just like, oh, he's kind of quirky and it's kind of funny, right?
I don't know
what I mean?
Because I'll when we get to the story, I reread 48, 49, and 50 and getting ready for this. And like I told you, I watched the 90s Fantastic Four adaptation of the story as well, just to get, to have that ready to go too. But I do feel like in reading it again, there are times where he's just like, it is because like very dismissive of, you're a woman. What could you possibly, add, how would you know? And she's a little damsel in distressy as well. But I do feel like it is a little, like we said, it's hard when that's a part of the character that was acceptable at one point and it's not so much now. Yeah. Like it's not something that he could, I mean, I think we talked about it again that night, the idea that, and let's just kick it open since we're there. When you make everyone an astronaut or a scientist or someone's got some kind of, as opposed to, I know we have to do this. I've got to steal this rocket ship. I need your help. Sue goes along because she's in love with him. And Johnny, in my mind, Johnny would go along because he wants to go to space. And then Ben needs Ben to fly the thing, right? But I think when you make everyone semi-smart, it doesn't make Reed seem that much more immensely smart unless you have him do. I mean, granted, like we see in the story that there are things that are done, right? That obviously the rest of them can't do. But I also feel like if you're gonna like, it's kind of like if you have a Flash story and everyone sort of runs fast around him, it kind of makes the Flash a little less special. And I feel like that's part of the problem for Pedro as well. And this is the idea that, well, they're all kind of smart. Right. And they all kind of come up with a solution when, no, Reed's the smartest man in universes. That's his whole bit, other than he stretches. And I think fundamentally that's something that if you don't differentiate the things between, who's like, hey, this is my superpower, is my giant brain. Right.
Right. Yeah. Which is the angle they go. They definitely do play down the stretchiness.
Yeah.
Which again, in this situation, in this movie, it works. Like they give us a Reed that works in this movie. I thought. So yeah, they definitely are playing up that the brains are his thing.
But I feel like we talked about, like I said, that night, Zack, the fact that I don't want to bag on this movie because I did enjoy it, but I don't like the ultimate take of they're kind of all, science folk. Conversely, I don't like the idea that Ben is played as being dumb. Right. Because in order to be a test pilot, you have to be pretty smart. It's not a matter of just having, nerves of steel and guts and I fly the plane by, by my wits. And no, there's a certain amount of things you have to know to be a pilot.
That's where I disagree with you, though. I think that's where I like the take where they're all smart. Because I do think that it gives justification as to why they're all there. Like the Johnny stowing away on the ship, it just doesn't work for me.
Okay.
Like today, it doesn't work at all for me.
I mean, to me, it's the idea of I don't want to be left out as a little one, as a young kid, which I had no problem with. I don't know. So it's like, to me, it's for the time. Like I would have been like, he's just like Rick Jones out there showing off for his friends.
Right.
About to, until Doc Banner has to pull him out of the, basically push him out of the way of the bomb.
Sure. Yeah, I think for 61 it works. I just think for a modern audience, I just think the question. I think that's asking too much of the audience to swallow.
Okay.
Like and I don't think that them all being smart takes away from Reed, because I do think if they're all in awe of how smart he is and they're all smart, I do think that it like that works for me. That right, they're all still a little like geez, okay, like smartest guy in the world, and he's figuring this stuff out.
Right. I mean, we get a little of it. Ben says, can you say that basically kind of like, I think Ben has a line about, can you say stuff in English, or can you put it, say it like, but I think that's way more, let's hit harder, definitely the Kirby stuff.
Right.
And it's that, hits at other times where Ben's like, I don't look, you're talking above everybody's head, man. You gotta make this so everybody can understand it.
Right.
But no, I feel like, again, it's one of those things. The other thing about Reed's character is, yes, he is, very smart. And if you make everyone smart, they're obviously not going to be as smart as him. But part of it is that Reed is kind of clueless about day-to-day stuff.
Yeah.
So there are different, I just think in more, how do I put this? In defter hands, you can show the difference between, hey, there's like this off the charts universal stuff that Reed plays with, but he doesn't like know how to pick up his dry cleaning. Like,
right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't have to make him, but I don't feel that this does that for him.
Okay, I disagree again. I do. I think like him not finding the iodine in the bathroom, like is kind of, does a lot of that heavy lifting for me too. Again, but I will concede also here that of the entire team, Reed is sort of the one that I have like less of a grasp on of this is like what the take should be. And I mean, I guess I appreciated that they struck a balance and made a little bit of change. Like, I like how loving he is to with Sue. Like, I really like their relationship in this movie.
I thought that was good, and I liked the scene with the baby. I thought him and the baby was nice. But I also think that, they have the bit of, a lot of times Reed is like, well, this is what the numbers say, so therefore we should do this.
Right.
And they do that. That's that's what part of contention in the movie is, the fact that they don't, he's like, no, this is kind of, the math adds up, whether it's going to be a great decision or a heartfelt decision or whatever. But yeah, again, I would never say that the performance was terrible or it's horribly written. It just was one of the things where, like I told you that night, there are many things I would have done differently. That's all.
Okay.
So many things I would have done differently. But
there was a moment that I like, just speaking to the part about like he follows the numbers. I did really like the moment where he saw where the numbers took him. Sue saw that he knew where the numbers took him.
Right.
He tried to lie about it.
Yeah.
And she was like, no, you have the answer.
Yeah.
Like, you have the plan. What is it?
Right. Yeah, that's a good sign. Good scene. That's a very good scene.
Yeah.
I like that scene too.
Let's go to Sue next.
All right, let's go to Sue.
Solo the movie.
Well, I've said for a long time that as the strongest member of the team is Sue.
Yes, that's true.
Arguably. She is arguably the toughest, like strongest member they've got.
Right.
Again, if you go back to Stan and Jack stuff, obviously she's not played that way.
Right.
But, I'd say maybe around the time of Burn. Maybe?
Right. As the comic evolved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is where it's abundantly clear to me that they've gone sort of with where the characters evolved since 1964.
Right.
With this. But yeah, and I am pleased that she gets the role of the soul piece. Because sometimes it's her, sometimes it's Ben.
Right.
Right. And I do like that they went with her with this, and it shows how strong of a character she is and can be. And I just think she's awesome. Like, I think Vanessa Kirby's just like great in the role. But what did you guys think?
I liked her a lot. I thought she was well cast. The bit where she shows the baby and wins the argument, I thought that was a great moment between the two of them. I think in the trailer the speech works better for me. That will, the whole thing will solve it as a family or fight as a family. I don't know if it was a different take. I don't know if anyone else has noticed that. But I thought the speech in front of the people, in front of the Baxter building, I liked it, but I felt it worked better for me in the trailer than it did in the actual moment.
Okay.
I don't know why. It just did. Along with the fact that I liked how New York was set up in the retro futuristic stuff, I did feel a little like New York was 3 or 4 blocks. And that was one of those scenes where I'm like, because I'm looking at the extras and I'm like, are these the same people that were in the scene with Galactus and the surfer? Because it looks like they, or I should say with the surfer, because it looks like a lot of the same faces. And it seems like it was one of those things where what we got, I liked a whole lot. I just feel like in some spots, it did feel kind of, for being New York, it felt small to me.
Okay.
And in that particular scene, it just felt like it was people that wanted to hear what she had to say. And I'm not saying her speech didn't have conviction for me. I think it worked better in the trailers.
Okay.
But overall, I thought she was great. I mean, the climax is awesome. I did have a theory though about that, because
Okay.
I did see that people were kind of whining and complaining about how was that possible.
Okay.
I mean, can we just? I mean, without spoiling.
Well, let's save that
Okay.
for place in the MCU stuff and
Okay.
implications down the line. Clifton, Invisible Woman. What'd you think?
I thought she was great.
Okay.
I thought she was great in this. I liked everything they did with the character. I thought Vanessa Kirby was good. I had not seen Vanessa Kirby in too much. She was in one of the more recent Mission Impossibles.
Yeah.
I thought she was one of the highlights. I thought all of the women in that Mission Impossible, which one was that? Zack?
Was that 7? She's in 6. She's introduced in Fallout. But
okay.
but,
I didn't
but
remember
7 was the one that had a
one,
lot of women cast.
Yeah, Palm Clementif, who then went to the next one as well as Haley
Atwell.
But the seven, I thought she was good in. So I hadn't seen her in a whole lot of stuff. So it was nice to see. I wasn't sure. When I heard her cast, I was like, well, I like her all right, but we'll see how she does, because I just didn't have much to go on. But no, I mean, she carries everything they give her in this film, and she definitely does. She does have the heart of it, and she's the center of that family, as she is in the comics too. She's the one that holds the guys all together.
Yep.
As they're all going their different ways, or just their energies kind of pull them apart. She pulls them back together. That's just like a through line through Fantastic Four. So they captured that, I thought, perfectly with her.
I think so too. I think I mean, in fact, that's the thought I have. Skipping ahead to the climax when she makes like the sacrifice and she's on the ground, and I'm looking at like just all the boys. Like looking, I'm like, man, you guys are all effed without her. What about, all right, let's move on then to her little brother Johnny.
All right.
How did I feel like Joseph Quinn was kind of like the big casting in a weird way, because he was sort of the I don't want to say the star, but he was sort of the breakout of season 4 of Stranger Things.
He definitely was. That's for sure.
Yeah,
absolutely. So much so that they were, they're like hoping we see him in other things because he's great.
I remember watching season 4 and kind of in my head going like, when is he going to show up in the MCU? Like, he will be showing up before long.
That.
Well, you had said that you wanted him as like young Robert Downey Jr.
Yes, I was wrong. I predicted he was going to be young Stark in a TV show on Disney Plus, and that did not happen.
Maybe when Kang was still a thing, because there's that whole Kang storyline with young Tony that might have worked, where Tony Stark Iron Man is gone and he's replaced by his younger version. That may have been the thing they may have like kicked around for a minute or two and thought maybe.
Yeah.
No, I thought he was good as Johnny. I think he did a fine job. I think it's again, it's one of those things of, if you're going to make Johnny semi-smart, right. a lot of Johnny's stuff is, and I know this is a term that may offend some, he's a himbo generally. I mean, he's kind of not dumb, but he's kind of dim, and the things that matter to Johnny are girls and hot rods, and that's about it. Like that's not really, that's usually his thing. So it's kind of a difficult. Well, that and messing with Ben.
Right.
So it's kind of difficult when you take that away to be like, yeah, he was Johnny Storm, because I liked his performance. I think they gave him moments. I think the whole thing of him, the appointment with Reed, was very a Johnny bit. I love that. I thought that was very much this is him having a serious adult conversation with Reed, who has no time for him.
Right.
With what's going on.
I like that he was trying to emulate what he thought he should be doing. Right.
And that works. That to me, works. I would have even liked it if he had showed up with a typical like attaché case with nothing in it. That would have been the business I would have given to Joseph Quinn in that moment. I think that would have worked great. But I love that. I love the back and forth with Ben. I think we talked about that night was just enough.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't, you know, I liked the Michael Chiklis and Chris Evans back and forth in those movies too, but I also thought it got a little rough, got a little mean between them.
It gets to be kind of last couple seasons of Friends where they're always just digging at each other.
Yeah.
And it gets to a point where I'm like, I don't buy that you're close anymore.
Right, because I mean, underlining it is very much there is love there. Like it's like let's not pretend that those characters don't love each other.
Right. Where does it just become passive aggression?
Right. Exactly.
It's like,
but there's a balance. Like with Reed, there's a balance. I think that's kind of tough to hit. And quite frankly, I mean, let's all be honest. That I mean, as a writer, that stuff is probably the funnest stuff to put as far as put down on the page as far as like character dynamics. It's just those two like going at each other.
Yeah, generally, I mean, I know on Wade's run, Wade had a lot of fun with the two of them, you know, being kind of not you know, being jerks to each other, but still the underlying love was there. But no, I think it's you know, they asked. I saw a clip of the cast, and it was the question the interviewer asked the question, it was like, "Are you all sick of each other yet?" And I think that sometimes the writers, like I said, sometimes, or like you were saying, sometimes it can be mean spirited by when it's been done for so long.
Right.
But I don't think that was the case here.
He was asking this cast if they were sick of each other yet?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That is funny because just as an aside, I saw a red carpet, I think for Gladiator 2, which starred Pedro Pascal and Joseph Quinn.
Right.
In Gladiator 2. And it was the interviewer on the red carpet talked to Joseph Quinn first.
Okay.
And Joseph Quinn said, when you see Pedro, ask him what time his call time is tomorrow. Because they were filming Doomsday by this point in time.
Okay.
And so then it cuts to the red carpet reporter talking to Pedro Pascal. And she says, Joseph Quinn, you know, told me to ask what time your call time is. And Pedro just looks at her and says, oh, his call time better not be after mine.
That's good.
And then he says, like, she asks, like, what it's like working with, you know, Joseph Quinn. And Pedro is just like deadpans and says, I worked with him yesterday. I worked with him today. I work with him tomorrow. I'll be working with him every day for the rest of my life.
Nice.
So yeah, I guess it's, you know, it's a good question.
That's funny.
I mean, so like I said, I thought the performance was good. I thought he was good with what they gave him. When it gets to the bit about deciphering the language, it's fine. I get it. But again, there's the undertone of Johnny is obviously, you know, they downplay it, but Johnny had that moment, quote unquote, with the surfer, was with Shia LaBeouf. Right. And traditionally it would be Johnny trying to be horn dog Johnny and trying to talk to this woman, this girl, this person from outer space. They mention, you know, that there's a little of that in the movie. And I think I said that again, I don't necessarily like a smart Johnny. I'm sorry. I don't. It's just not it's not the way I see the character. It's not my Johnny. And I think I related the story. I think I told you the story about my wife's cousin's husband when they met as a couple. She only spoke Spanish at that point. Her husband was so like taken with her and so it's a sweet story. Was so enamored with her that he started to learn Spanish as soon as possible so he could talk to her. So if that was a little more of that underplay in it too, like I just want to talk to this girl because I'm into this girl from outer space, I would have liked it more. It would have found a little more palatable. And then there's just another story element that I didn't think quite worked for me either. But that's more, again, we have to wait till we get that part. Which isn't
nice
his
story. You told me that after we saw the movie. Yeah, it's a nice story.
Yeah, which isn't Johnny's fault. It's not the actor's fault. It's not Johnny's fault. It's the writing.
So this wasn't in my notes, but when you were talking, it occurred to me that sort of like the 60s Reed Sue dynamic of like I'm busy here. Doesn't go to Sue in this movie. It goes to Johnny.
A little bit.
That dynamic is clearly like, I mean, for me, I was like, yeah, that's kind of it. Is it sort of like they all love him and they're all close. And I do think that that's like the real magic of the movie is that like their closeness of the whole family like really works. But it's clear that like, you know, that they underestimate him. They all kind of underestimate him.
Right.
A little bit. a departure from I guess what I typically associate with Johnny, I think, is attributed to the fact that MCU, like we said in our State of the MCU episode, like tends to want to do, if a character existed on film previous to the MCU, they kind of want to steer a different way.
A lot of times, yeah.
Yeah. And like that's evident with Johnny, I think. We're like there is a sense of that the Fantastic Four has kind of been at this for a while, and that he's matured slightly more than I guess where we see the other iterations of it. Because the line that does a lot of lifting for me is when he's talking about the surfer and he's like, the first time I meet somebody that's actually interesting.
Right.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh, okay, that's a Johnny that's mature. That's a Johnny that's been on a million dates with, women he's attracted to, but, are kind of vapid, I guess. Like that's what that line kind of conjures, the visual. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was kind of an interesting take. And I think the other side of it is that like, we don't talk about the 2005 one that much, but if anybody finds kind of a highlight of those movies, it's almost always like Chris Evans in those movies, right? It's almost always like Chris Evans like nailed it as Johnny.
Right.
And I do think, it's not just him as Cap in the MCU. I do think him as Johnny kind of like casts a big shadow. And so I see them wanting to kind of do something a little different with it. And I agree. It's not exactly what I expect from Johnny, but I do enjoy this take. I immediately putting the cart before the horse. It does make me go like, well, what's it going to be like when he meets Spider-Man? Like,
right. Yeah.
Right. Like it does make me kind of, I am kind of thinking like what he and Peter are going to be like, but
I mean, is this a Johnny who would kick me on the back of Spider-Man after he's lost his symbiote costume and, has to wear a bag on his head and an old Fantastic Four costume to leave the Baxter building?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know if it's also Johnny that would apologize for doing it afterward.
I don't want that.
No, like I don't mind the smart Johnny-ness, though I will say, like, I feel like there were a couple beats missing for me that I would have liked to have seen. So some stuff ended up as subtext or undertone that, I mean, we're filling in gaps from stuff we know, from other stories we know. I don't know if the other audience, I suppose a lot of the audience could fill in the gaps too, just based on the subtext and undertone. One is the line you mentioned, Zach, where he says she's interesting, where he's like, finally a girl that's interesting. I feel like we do miss a beat where we don't get to see the Johnny that, like, even if it's just like some like models or something kind of fawning over him and seeing like this is what he gets all the time.
Right.
To the point where he's like sees the surfer and sees like, oh, like this is different. This is something new. This is something exciting because like I'm used to all that, like where he's matured from that on. I feel like there was just a missing beat there where we don't get to see the like before he's matured.
Yeah.
Or like in the process of the maturing. I just felt like it was a little beat missing that I would have liked to have seen. That was in my notes, actually. That's what I was thinking.
Okay.
Because I do really like that line too. I really do like the change where he's like, they're the biggest celebrities on the planet.
Right.
It can only be exciting for so long when there's like no other celebrities at that level on their planet.
Yeah. I kept waiting for a mention of the Beatles.
Right.
I did. I was like, surely someone's going to mention the other, because we do. Because didn't you? There's the line in Multiverse of Madness, like, didn't you chart? Or it's in didn't you chart in 61?
Oh yeah.
But no, we didn't get it. So
right.
Because again, when you talk about celebrity, I'm like, well, surely there's other. Those are some of the biggest celebrities at the time as well. But
right.
No.
But as far as him being smart, like when we do see him do his feat of intelligence, and it's impressive, where he cracks a language based on like old, Voyager gold records that apparently is what they use for archiving data from space. Sure, why not?
Right.
It does take months, I think, in the movie. Like there's definitely time gaps. Like there's a lot of time passing while they're preparing the teleportation devices that's their plan, and he's doing that. And I think it is like he's a Johnny who feels like the undertones and subtext is that he doesn't feel like he's carrying his weight. I think that's clear. I think that's why he wants to meet with Reed, where he's like, see, like I'm helping, like I'm doing it too.
Right.
And that is the one feat he does where he can do it. And I feel like it was a lot of work for him. I don't think it was easy for him because it did take a lot of time.
Right.
But he was smart enough to do it. So he did have the underlying intelligence that we're not used to him having. But I don't think it was a simple feat for him.
I do think you're right, though. I mean, I was wondering where I was going to be able to get this in, but I do appreciate the fact that the movie's like, I remember when it ended, I was like, it's it already? Like it's over already? Like it went kind of fast. And I complain all the time on this show about like movies being too long. And I did appreciate that it was short. Although that said, I will say, like, I don't think that Marvel is guilty of doing like long movies, but I will never say that their movies ever feel too long to me. I've always thought Marvel's been really, really good at making the most of the time that it has, and their movies always feel kind of like they're not padded. But that said, I do think that this movie did have a sense of like, oh, I wonder what's cut out. Like I really want to see like deleted scenes.
Oh yeah, me too.
For this, and I mean, because we know, because Malkovich isn't in the movie,
right? So there are at least some.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's when we get to Ben. That was something else I wanted to talk more about. So.
All right. Well, let's get to Ben. Let's get to Ben. The FF member that comes up the most.
Yes.
On this show.
Yes. By me a lot.
How'd they do? How'd they do with Ben? I'm just tossing it up there.
I thought this was the best Ben we've seen yet.
Okay.
Yeah. I thought all around they got it all right.
I agree.
And that's all. No. There's more to say here.
No
too.
notes. No.
I love that the voice does not change. I think we said it on the show before. I love that they didn't do anything to his voice. At least obviously. They didn't do anything. Like it's a normal voice.
Sure.
And you know, apparently that was controversial, or that was poo-pooed or polarizing to some people.
Some people wanted the 60s Hanna-Barbera. That's right. You know, that whole, you know, Lawrence Tierney.
Yeah.
You know, sort of, you know, they wanted that thing. And I love that version of Ben. I think that version of Ben is great.
And it is, I mean, Chickless leans that way in 2005.
He's not bad either. I like what Chickless does with Ben. But then you get like that, again, to reference the 90s Fantastic Four cartoon. And it's just like, Reed. I hate that version. Because again, he's not an idiot. He's street. He's you know, he grew up in the neighborhood, you know, near Yancey Street or on Yancey Street.
Right, the Bowery. Yep.
Yeah, he's got an accent from the time that he lived there. So it's one of those things where when they play him, you know, I don't like a dumb Ben. I was fine with the voice. I thought the voice works. I thought Eben Moss-Bachrach was great. I can't wait to see Ben in anything and everything they want to put him in the MCU. Please let his contract be for like 8 movies.
Right.
Bring on my Marvel 2-in-1. Bring in my, you know, Rocky Grimm space guy after Secret Wars. I want all that stuff. Give it to me now.
And Mark Ruffalo, I want to see together. Yeah.
Oh, of course. Oh my God. Sure. Yeah. I mean, but I, you know, it's one of those things where like, it's like we've talked about before. Ben is one of those characters that I think you can do a lot with, obviously. He just works in a lot of different stories. But no, my biggest thing about Ben is nothing to do with the performance or how he's written. I think all the stuff that works with Ben in the movie is great. I think it's all tone right. He looks great. I wouldn't mind if he was a little bit larger, but I'm okay with what we got. But I do feel like more so with Ben, because I remember one of the trailers, like he was on the dating game.
Yeah.
And
there's like an Instagram thing they put out. Yeah.
And we didn't get to see that. And then I think more so than any other character, all the Ben stuff is in the trailers. Like all of it is in the trailers.
Yeah.
And that really bummed me out because I really wanted there to be, I mean, obviously not all the stuff with Natasha Lyonne's character, but even that stuff felt like that was truncated. Like that stuff was like those scenes went on longer, or there was more to them and that got cut. Or they, you know, that for whether it was the scene didn't work or for brevity or whatever, I don't know. But I just feel like like him picking up the car with the kids, that whole scene is wonderful, but at the same time, it's in the trailer. Him doing the clobbering time bit we got, which is funny, but I didn't, I knew when it was already going to happen in the movie. I'm like, I know exactly when this scene works, when it hits. And then the whole thing with the beard was cute, but at the same time, it was in the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
Right. They didn't point it out in the trailer, but you could easily spot it.
Yeah. So it's and at one point, I know when, Tommy had mentioned it before many times about that Marvel was kind of didn't play fair and didn't always give us what was in the trailers.
Yes.
In this case, more and more that's gone away, and they just give us exactly whatever, those beats are in the trailer. And then, and it felt like a little bit of desperation on Marvel part of like, if we don't show them this stuff, they won't come to this movie.
I don't. So to circle back to the trailer really quick, and I don't think I articulated on the show or even said it to you guys, but what I will say is that and I'm not poo-pooing the movie. I'm poo-pooing the trailer here for this.
Okay,
which
that's
I love the trailers, but
They're
what
good.
I will say is that the chronology of the movie that I pieced together in my head looking at the trailer was exactly right.
Of course.
Right?
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
I do think in looking back at the trailer and then seeing the movie, I'm like, wow, yeah. I mean, the beats are pretty easy to put together.
Yes.
Based off of the trailer.
Yeah.
It's not a weakness of the movie. I'm just saying, like, it's just
not at all.
It's just how they chose to edit those together. It did occur to me. I was thinking also about the Infinity War trailer where I was reminded of Hulk running with everybody else. and,
Right.
and I've said a million times, we're like, I love that Marvel kind of lies to us.
I had no problem
in
with
trailers. And I agree. I do think that they need to do it more because I don't think they did it. The only thing that I had seen that I think that people spotted was I think that they covered up the pregnancy in some spots.
Okay.
And that appears to be the only iteration that I've seen of them being like, okay, like we're kind of shielding this.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But that was it.
Mm-hmm.
That was my circle back to the trailer really quick.
With this and with Thunderbolts, it was very much the movie. I already knew the movie before I got to it.
Mm-hmm.
I already knew. And that's unfortunate because if you're going to go, you want me to go plunk my money down and go see it at the theater and not wait for Disney Plus, I would prefer to have something held back. And again, but again, it was also a matter of like, at first we didn't know about Franklin, right?
Right.
In the early trailers, that wasn't a thing. And then they turned over that card in another trailer. And like I said, it was my biggest issue. Like I said, I can't wait for whatever they're going to do with Ben in future things.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it would have been nice to have held something back.
I was surprised the movie opened with one of our main characters in a bathroom taking a pregnancy test.
Sure.
Yes.
As the opening scene of the movie. That was surprising.
Mm-hmm.
I will say that much.
Well, that was something Zack and I talked about, in reading the comics and knowing how the Fantastic Four history goes. It's a lot for a first movie, to take the coming of Galactus, the trilogy story, and the birth of Franklin, and put all that stuff together.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot.
And also kind of hint at the first, like 47 issues of Fantastic Four happening
right.
in montages.
There's that,
and then here we are an hour in, and then here's issue 48. But I think it works.
No, it does. I'm just saying, my only argument was, and this is overall for where their position is in the entirety of things, is just the idea that you could have gotten 2 movies out of what you just showed me.
Sure.
And
I think you're right.
It's one of those things where, again, while I feel like so much of the source material was respected and shown its proper love, I do feel like, that's, again, even if you didn't want to give me 2 movies out of those 2 stories I mentioned, that's fine. But the idea that it was only, what was it? Was it less than 2 hours or just over 2 hours?
I think it's around 2.
Yeah, I think it's around 2 hours.
Yeah.
I don't know for a movie with that much, like, again, I read something about, how a lot of the stuff didn't make it from the trailer past the trailer because it was only animatics. They didn't have it fully, done or rendered or whatever.
Right. Sure.
And that we'll possibly see it on
and that stuff can sink a movie. It really can. I mean, like effects making it to trailer before it's done. I mean, like really can affect the box office.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, that's been the complaint about Marvel through this entire phase, is that stuff got rushed and it looked bad, and therefore, I mean, I understand. Again, I'm all for taking the time to making sure that Yeah, an hour and 55 minutes is the runtime.
I think in sort of the narrative culture that we live in now, where everything's build up, and we're gonna get a season of I don't know. I'm trying to think of a parallel. Really, we're gonna get a season of Hal and Sinestro hanging out before Sinestro turns.
Right.
And we're gonna milk that for everything that it's worth. And I get it, and I love that. I love a slow burn every once in a while, or a lot of while. There is a sense to me a bit of well, why wait? I mean, everybody's expecting like, well, okay, like Galactus is we're going to build up to that in the third movie. Like, well, why not do it now? Is the thought. Like, okay, and maybe it's rushing it, but it's also the thing that everybody wants to see.
Okay,
and so I see the justification too a little bit. Like, well, let's just do it now because there's stuff to play with that's fun after the fact. And and I do think that there is a sense of that this movie was a risk from the setting, from the fact that both iterations that came before, they're not really well regarded, and I think that there was a little bit, I think there's a reason why in the first trailer too, they tell you it's good, like we're doing Galactus, guys,
My only counter to that is when they've talked about there's I don't know if it's an actual story, if it's just, apocrypha, it's made up. But at the time, after they'd done, 47 issues of Fantastic Four, it's kind of, someone jokingly said, well, what if the FF fought God? Right. And that's the thing, is like, if not Ben, but the thing of it all is you got to build up to God. Right. I understand that, again, that I think what one of the downsides of this movie, as good as it is that they are, where they're positioned in all of it. Now, granted, I understand the 20th Century Fox deal wasn't a thing at the beginning, and they didn't have access to those characters, and 20th Century Fox was still making movies, or at least kind of keep the license or keep the rights to it. But I feel like, sure, we want the Silver Surfer and Galactus and the Fantastic Four to be able to play in all the stuff we're doing next. I get that. But I also feel like if you come out of the gate and you fight God, right, it kind of, again, knowing what I know about those characters and their corner of the Marvel Universe, I go, okay, sure. But I also know that, the things that we didn't get to see leading up to it, those are great stories too.
Right. Yeah, of course.
So that's my only thing is I think the movie suffers from, and I say suffer in a sense that, our friend Dan, I was texting back and forth with him over on the Sunday, whatever, nebulously Sundays, whenever you listen to this, about it. And his take was, he's real tired, and I kind of agree with it. I'm real tired of, in the first movie, you get to see the characters be the characters in a Marvel movie. The second movie, they interact with the bigger universe as a whole. And the third movie, it all sort of goes away or goes to hell. And then they don't get to be those characters anymore.
Right.
And I think that's a formula that Marvel has been using.
Okay.
So it's one of those things where this was our only chance to see the Fantastic Four be the Fantastic Four before they have to go play in what's the bigger picture.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this might be the only chance we get before a possible reboot or whatever happens after Secret Wars.
I think too, playing off of, I guess, like the impatience of the fans, that there is something to when the next card you're being dealt, right? You get you hit Galactus first. I'm like, okay, that scratches that itch.
Right.
I do think that there is a smart strategy in the sense that, like, well, okay, like, so now the next thing we're excited about is team ups. Is we are thinking Thing in the Hulk, and we are thinking, like, what's it going to be like when Sue and Namor are in the same room, and what's it going to be like when Spider-Man and Johnny, right? And it's telling, I think, that that's going to be their next appearance. But it does make me go, like, what Fantastic Four 2 is going to be. But seems like a lot's going to change between now and then. As far as me and the Thing, I love when Thing wears clothes, and I thought that was
kind of like Vision.
Yeah.
I agree.
I really enjoy that. I don't know what else to say about him. I just thought, like, they nailed, like, the Yancey Street, like, tough kid that grew up on the streets. I think like, you
Right.
know, without this movie does a lot of making you feel stuff and making and without showing you anything.
Yeah, it's
It's
true.
like it really bucks the like show don't tell stuff. This movie tells stuff a lot more
Mhm.
than it shows, but it tells it in a
Yeah.
way that like it makes me feel it,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
And I think that that's kind of a fun spot to be in.
Well, I think it is worth pointing out that arguably Ben Grimm is the creation from Jack Kirby that is most like Jack Kirby
Yes. Mm-hmm. For sure.
as far as biography or autobiography, growing up in the same neighborhood,
Mhm.
being Jewish, being in the comics a World War II vet. Jack Kirby was a World War II vet overseas with crazy stories if you read his biographies from his time. So I do think that's worth pointing out.
Yes, it definitely is point. And his DNA is felt all over this movie.
Oh yeah,
Mm.
most
And-
definitely.
And as a big Kirby fan, as we all are, but for me, for somebody who I don't think like really gets his due
Mm-hmm.
in this universe, you know, it's nice that this movie's like kind of a love letter to him, and sort of like it feels like him all like top to bottom.
Yep.
That was my feeling watching it. I don't know if you guys had the same thing, but yeah, I mean, yeah, Clifton, it is a great point that he is like the closest analog we have to Kirby in the universe,
Mhm.
Long before, yeah,
except that issue where the Fantastic Four meet Stanley and Jack Kirby.
yeah. But I was gonna say, I mean, long before Morrison talked about putting on a fiction suit and stepping into a creation, Kirby did this, right?
Yeah,
You know, very much so. Is you know, back when Ben could smoke a cigar and
Yeah.
be, you know, he was very much Kirby. So, yeah, I think all the stuff with Ben was just
and what's the universe
that's-
number?
828.
828. Yeah, and like Frank, like in the movie, like I remember you like leaned in and you were like, that's Jack's birthday. And I
Yeah.
was like, oh, like
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the reason why
Yeah.
they did it.
We
So,
say Jack like we know him, but
right.
we feel like
Well,
we
I
do.
mean, and we get the small nod to the Timely offices,
Yeah,
you know, which is a nice bit too. And there's a little bit of Kirby artwork on the walls and stuff. That's nice as well. Again, for a guy that, you know, arguably the MCU doesn't exist without him.
yeah.
You know, it's just facts, kids. But yeah, Herbie. What do we think about
Herbie.
Herbie?
Very cute.
I enjoyed Herbie quite a bit. I thought one of my favorite things about Herbie was the bit with the tape. I thought that was really smart. I didn't realize that at first
Mm.
with the tape popping out and switching the tapes and I
That
was
his face was a cartridge.
like, yeah,
It's like
beautiful,
swapping out the Tutty Rexpin tape.
yeah, beautiful moment. I'm like, that's awesome. I
Yeah.
love that. That was really cool. I like Johnny's, you know, I like how Johnny treated Herbie.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
You know,
Called him Herbert.
yep, love that.
pets him
You
like
know,
a dog.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The bits with Herbie, you know, the Herbie trying to baby proof the building was nice too. That was fun. You know, yelling at Herbie because a lot of times in those situations, it's kind of like, you know, it's definitely a contrast with the way that Tony Stark treats Dummy.
yeah,
You know,
Yeah.
very much a difference in the way things are done or the way that he talks to his AI.
yeah.
You know, it's a nice contrast. I think it's
Yeah.
it's a much warmer relationship between them and Herbie.
Where it's like everybody like goes through lengths to like spare his feelings on
Yeah.
things like you know, it's in the trailer, but thing like cooking, and he's like, yeah, you know, I'm gonna add this,
All right.
not because it's not delicious.
Right,
I love that.
right.
I love.
Well, I mean, the other great Herbie bit for me was the end where he does his due diligence to try and save Franklin, right?
Yeah.
You know, he's like, nope, I'm gonna protect this baby, and it's you know, good luck with that against what you're against. So, but no, I thought Herbie was I thought Herbie was a fun addition. He's also a little
Yeah.
helperish, you know, from Venture Brothers too. So, no, I thought Herbie was great. I enjoyed Herbie.
It was one of those things I'll echo again. Like if before we saw a frame of this movie, if you asked me, Zach,
Mhm.
do you want Herbie in the movie? I would have said no. Why would you?
Oh,
do
of
that?
course, yeah.
And it's
No,
and
I
like
mean,
now on the
yeah.
other side of it, I'm like, I'm so glad Herbie's in this
Yeah.
movie. Like,
Oh, I would have said yes. I would have said yes every single time.
right.
But I also think Herbie works well in the future retro futuristic stuff. I
Yeah.
think having a robot butler /
Sure.
you know, tendy / dog / friend, all that stuff works
It's a shorthand for Reed, though, too. I think like he's smart enough to build this robot that's good at everything.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and
Yep.
yeah, I mean, it is a lot different from Tony and you know, what do they call it? Dummy?
Yeah. The one with he puts a dunce cap on his head.
Yeah.
At one point, and he berates a lot of those robots that he's got. So
they're gonna have meetings about Herbie animated series for Disney Plus.
I can see that.
Yeah, I'm almost certain of it.
I think there's been tie-in comics.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
Or Disney shorts, that would work too.
So, all right, let's start getting into we'll get into Silver Surfer and Galactus next, and we'll kind of get into more meat of the plot here. But so, like we said earlier, Clifton, you pointed this out in past episodes. Like MCU wants to do something different. Here we get Silver Surfer, different.
Yes,
not Norrin Rad,
not Norrin Rad,
yeah.
But a connection to Norrin Rad.
Yes,
roundabout, possibly. We actually don't know in this Earth what the story is. We don't get it all. In addition to just giving us a different take on Silver Surfer, and I will say like it's Shalabal. We find that out through Johnny's ingenuity. She first appeared in Silver Surfer #1 by Stan Lee and Buscema. Okay. She was introduced as Norrin Rad's wife. They parted ways when Norrin Rad became the Herald of Galactus in normal Marvel comic universe. She's mentioned in other stuff along the way, like in other Silver Surfer issues as a person from his past, but they had done a handful of alternate appearances. Like a version of her appears in Earth X, the Alex Ross, is Jim Kruger book.
Yep.
And then there's been like a couple other what if stories that touched on her of things, and some have her getting sort of Herald-like powers. So it was something that had occurred on alternate Earths in the comic stories that they went with this time around. But things I think it also gets us making the change that they did. It does get us the moment with Johnny. It does get us that connection with Johnny, which I really like, I think is nice.
Yeah.
And it also sings back to Sue being the heart of this movie, is that now we have another mother who was faced with the same dilemma, but made a different choice as a counterpoint to what we're seeing, our Fantastic Four doing in this movie. So I think it buys us that by making that change. But no, I thought she was fantastic. Like I really liked all the stuff we got with the Surfer in this. And I thought, the reads were good. Like I've seen it blew up on TikTok, her Herald Galactus speech. It's a big TikTok trend.
My daughter has been doing the I Herald Your.
Yes.
Yeah, all that. Yeah, my daughter's been saying that over the last couple of days. She's been like saying the speech.
Yeah.
Yeah, it resonated for sure. So
yeah.
Wow.
I think it's a tricky design to do. I mean, like with reflections everywhere, and I do think that they nailed the look of this.
I have one comment about the design.
Okay. Go.
I wish she had curly hair. Because it's like Julia Garner's trademark, and I know it's like impossible. Like it would have made the effects so much harder,
right?
And it also would have defeated the purpose of Silver Surfer being like a sleek design, which is the whole point of Silver Surfer is the sleekness and like the Art Deco-ness of like a hood ornament.
Right, they look like a hood ornament. Yep.
But just because like the curly hair is so much like a trademark for Julia Garner, I was like, I would have loved to have seen like kind of curly silver hair. Like I don't know how exactly it would have worked, but I did see there's an artist I follow on he's on Blue Sky as well as other places. His name is Sebastian Pariz. Last name is Piriz. Like I love his art. He does a lot of sketches, posts a lot of stuff. But when she was cast, but before we saw designs, he did like a sketch of her as Silver Surfer with like the curly kind of hair, like kind of like Mercury looking hair. And I loved his sketch of it, and it sold me on it. So it's not enough to take away. Like I get why I get on multiple levels why Like she has the slicked back hair.
Right.
One, it's what a girl surfing would have
Right.
is slicked back hair because it's wet. So I mean, I get it from all the standpoints. It just would have been nice to see like the curly hair. It would have been a fun design, I think.
Yeah.
But other than that, they did nail the design.
I liked her. I wish we had gotten a little more with her.
Mm.
I felt like what we got was fine. I did the obviously I liked the speech. That speech was good. It was a cool bit. I did find it, again, in rereading 48, 49, and 50. It's interesting to me that they went this way because, again, it's one of those things where it definitely cuts out Alicia Masters.
Right.
Yeah.
We don't have Alicia Masters to basically awaken Nora and Red's lost humanity or buried humanity in the Surfer. Interesting enough, and I had not heard this, I just heard this recently, was the idea that Kirby didn't really want the Silver Surfer to be someone, like to be a person. He kind of wanted Galactus to create the Silver Surfer kind of from whole cloth.
Okay.
And sort of have the Silver Surfer be like a tabula rasa, like not like there's no real good and there's no real evil. I just serve the purpose of my master, Galactus.
Right. Okay.
And then Stan was the one who pushed for no, we'll turn him into a star. We'll make him, we'll give him his own book and the soliloquies and all that stuff that, that part of things. At least that's the story. I
hadn't heard that. No, I didn't know that.
I had not heard that before, but apparently that's a thing. So having said that, it's interesting, like when she gives, Alicia basically tries to convince that the Surfer falls through her like skylight or through her roof. She's like, who is this person in my apartment?
In the comic.
Yeah. And they talk and it's like, he's like, oh, I feel pity. I've never felt that before. I feel like compassion and I feel beauty for the first time. And I want to preserve this. Right. So that's what turns him in that. Again, I certainly don't mind the idea of Johnny being enamored with this sleek alien from outer space. I do find it weird that it's almost it's almost guilting her into the fact that this is what you did, and now you're bringing it here, and now our world is threatened because you've been a part of this what your boss needs to do in order to survive. I just thought that was an interesting take as opposed to the traditional life is worth living and there's beauty and there's all these things that you're feeling and now you're decided. I mean, we do get the line about where she says he's just a baby.
Right.
And at the end, but again, it's one of those things where I would have liked a little more when she makes her, a spoiler, when she makes her turn to have a little more about what it exactly was. Again, it's not, again, I know what it is, like what it's been in other times, but I'm not sure what it was exactly here. I mean, I know that Johnny basically shows her the voices of people crying out, but I don't know if she didn't hear that before.
Right.
So I thought she was fine. I just wanted more with her. And maybe that's a sign of a good thing because I wanted more with the character.
Right.
I just my thing is Julia Garner is such a great actress and she does, she is so expressive and she's so, if you've seen her in Ozark, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So I wanted more, I just wanted to give her more of a chance to do and talk and do more stuff. The other thing I would say is I like the scenes that we got, everything except for Galactus' ship. Because I felt that the action wasn't, I don't know. Anytime I see something in a semi-darkened state in these movies, I'm like, this is where you're trying to save time and money. So, the ship stuff is great. And I thought all that stuff was awesome. When they're trying to trap her, they're basically trying to get her stuck in the event horizon of the black hole. I thought all that stuff was awesome.
Right.
But the actual stuff on the Galactus ship, I thought was a shade too dark. And that's just from design stuff. I don't know if anyone else felt that way. Although I still liked what we got there, I just thought it was kind of like it was quick and it was over and it was kind of like, well, we got to move on to the next thing. And the next thing had a little more love and time put into it. Maybe it's just me.
No, I liked all the action around those scenes.
Okay.
And I liked that we got to see her surf.
Yeah.
I like that she surfs a wormhole.
Yeah.
I like that she surfs an event horizon.
Yep.
That was all cool.
We finally got to see a Silver Surfer really surf.
Yeah.
The idea has always been there. I just feel like we never really quite captured it in other versions.
Yeah, I agree.
To be like, no, she's literally like surfing this. She's surfing space in time.
It's done so much more typically like hoverboard.
Yeah.
And this one, I feel like they looked at surfers' body mechanics
Yeah.
and tried to capture that, especially in that scene.
Like the wormhole's like a rip curl.
Yeah.
Like she's just surfing the edge of it.
Yeah, I thought all that stuff was great. They did a really, really good job with that kind of stuff.
Does she reciprocate Johnny's feelings? What do you guys think?
No. I didn't feel that way. No.
Okay.
I'm not going to say 100% no.
Right.
I think she felt a connection enough to give the blessing, to give like an honest,
Right.
earnest blessing of her people to him when she didn't to other people.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there was a connection.
Yeah.
There was a connection there, as Johnny said, a moment.
I agree. I think, but I also agree that it doesn't tell you that she likes him either. Like,
Right.
like at no point does it say, yes, she's
Right.
falling for him. And I like
No.
that, but I do like that there's like little glimmers of like maybe, but there's also a little bit like it's a weird thing, but like he's gonna sacrifice himself to save his nephew.
Right.
And she comes in for the save
Right.
and hits him so hard to save his life. And it does crack me up a little bit. And I do think that that's a little bit like that is the dynamic of like, I like you enough to save you. And it does feel a little bit like it's not about him, but it does feel a little bit like she's saving him.
Okay.
Right. While at the same time also feeling a little bit like you bother me. Right.
Yeah.
Just let me do this. Just get out of my way and let me do this.
Right. But I think that gets back to what I'm saying. Like, I didn't necessarily take it that it was her saving him as opposed to I'm going to do the right thing.
Right.
To help you out. But I don't know if it was her feeling guilty. Again, I don't know if it was her feeling guilty about the other planets that perished or that, she didn't want Franklin. I don't know. We don't know. So again, I would have maybe I don't know. Maybe it's just I needed a more definitive answer about it, but I also felt like it was kind of, I liked what we got, but I just wanted more. That's it.
Yeah, we see a little bit of her backstory. We see a little bit of flashback of her before she's Surfer with her child. We don't know if Norrin Rad is the father of that child. We don't know if Norrin Rad exists in this universe.
Right.
It's possible.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all there possibly.
Is she from Zenla in the books?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. I think she was like an empress or something.
Shows you what I know.
Yeah.
Not much. Let's go on to that big jerk Galactus.
Yeah.
I'll echo again really quick what we said. The third time I'm saying it now. MCU likes to buck what is done before. Lucked out that, in Rise of the Silver Surfer, Galactus is a cloud. And that the take from the books is in fact the this is a fresh spin on things. And this is something you haven't seen on film yet. I mean, like really, really lucky, in retrospect, I just I was tickled every time I saw like the horns. But what did you guys think?
I liked it a lot. I thought that the take was really, really well done. I thought the voice actor was it Ralph Ineson? Is that his guy's name? He was in he's in Game of Thrones. He was also in the British Office.
Okay.
He was in that, and like I said, Game of Thrones. Apparently, he was in Harry Potter movies. But I thought when I heard him announced as Galactus, he also does a voice in. He's great in Critical Role, the Legend of Vox Machina. He's really good in that. The character he plays there. But as a voice actor, I was really excited for him to be Galactus. And then the fact that I don't know if you've seen the pictures of him in the suit. Those are floating around too. The motion, not even a motion capture. It's like an actual big suit.
Oh, cool.
For Galactus.
No, I didn't know that. I never knew who he was. That's what I was going to ask you guys also. I had no idea, honestly, if the face that Galactus has in the movie is modeled after him or not.
I think it's a mix. I think it's one of those where he probably wore like the facial stuff.
Right.
And then they just did whatever they needed to do over the top. But I thought that it had the presence and the look and the size, all that stuff was great. Because traditionally Galactus can sort of appear bigger or smaller depending. And I'm glad that they went with the giant size Galactus. But no, I thought he sounded great. My only thing was I wanted, I didn't need to be the Kirby bright or the comic book really bright colors. I did think it interesting that they did keep it like even when he wasn't in shadow, he was still kind of dark when he was in New York.
Yeah, he's muted.
Yeah, and I didn't know. Again, I don't know if that's just to save money on the effects or to make it a little easier. I don't know, but I would have liked it to have been a little bit lighter.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's something they will correct as they get it ready for Disney Plus and for home release for discs.
It is interesting that they came out so close together and they're both inherently positive, and I think Fantastic Four and Superman are gonna be kind of linked in a weird way. But it is interesting that they in both movies they kind of like with Galactus and then in Superman was sort of like with Lex's suits and sort of like the his hench guys and stuff, that like the purple is there, but they also kind of like really, really muted it. So you saw it if you really paid attention, but it didn't hit you over the face with it.
Yeah, it was one thing along with like mentioned those two movies coming out in the same summer. The idea that both Marvel and DC are tackling properties that launched both their universes is kind of interesting too.
Yeah.
But I thought it, like I said, I was gladly surprised that when his name came up, I'm like, he's perfect. He's a great choice for Galactus. And again, I don't know what the plan is. Galactus is in the comics. He's in the first Secret Wars. I think they're leaning more towards, that's the Jim Shooter and Mike Zeck one from the 80s. I'm sure they're leaning more towards the Jonathan Hickman other Secret Wars. I would imagine it's the one we're going to try to adapt.
Right.
But I think there's a Galactus role in there. So we might see him again. We might not see him. I don't know.
Okay.
I hope we do. I think he was great.
I like that he was just a guy.
Yeah.
Right.
Just a hungry guy.
I mean, he's a big guy. He's a giant guy, but he's just a guy.
Right.
And that goes back to other choices in the movie. Like you're talking about Ben Grimm, the voice, or then the lack of effects that they didn't go the accent. They didn't put sound effects to make him sound gravelly or anything. Like it's just a guy. And there are so many choices in this movie that are just guys. Like they're just guys. And I think it's a smart choice of a way to balance like the over the topness, the cosmicness, the mid-century modernness, like artificiality of it with like grounded, like real people. Like Mole Man is just a guy.
Definitely. For sure.
Galactus is just a guy. Ben Grimm's just a rock guy, but he's still, he's just the guy in there. He's just Ben Grimm in there under the rocks.
Right.
So I did like that the Galactus is just a big guy.
Right.
Who wants out of his job.
Yeah. That was an interesting part of the take. I thought was the fact that they're already like, nope, I can find a replacement. You're my replacement. I need you to step up. It fix this for me, so I'm not going to do this anymore. It was interesting because again, I mean, that's every now and then you get that story, but right out of the gate, I was like, oh, okay, sure, I guess, okay.
I can feel that desperation though, like when you're in a job you hate.
No, right. Yeah, right. Yeah.
We've all been there at some point in time.
Yes, this is true.
You can relate.
Yeah, Galactus' alarm clock goes off. Ugh, man, gotta do this again. Oh yeah. So I like I said, my biggest thing is again, I can't wait to see what they're going to do next with that aspect of things.
Yeah, I think it does a good job with him too of making him feel like a force. And even though it's just a giant guy who's as big as a building, I like that. It's the way that the characters talk about him that does some of that. It's sort of the way it's kind of the way that he's sort of unstoppable in his pursuit. It's kind of Terminator-y.
A little bit. Yeah.
I mean, I thought all of that stuff was really well done. I like that. He's kind of unrelenting in his pursuit of things.
Right.
He doesn't fall for stuff very easily.
I do have a question though.
Sure. How
do we feel about Reed just getting his pregnant wife and the rest of his family in a rocket ship and let's go in front of force we've never encountered before?
Sure.
And just taking it on. When the last time we did this and we had a conversation in this movie about, I should have seen that, led to them getting cosmic ray bombarded, they just hop right into a rocket ship and go right out into space to face whatever Galactus is.
Well, I mean, true. When that first trailer, not the first one, when that second trailer came out, that just flat out said like she's pregnant. It did like the immediate next thought I had was like, that's really all of this movie is very irresponsible if she's going out and fighting while she's pregnant.
Yes, absolutely. But what I was going to say earlier about that was, so because again, when we talk about things that people are kind of about the movie, one of them was Sue taking on Galactus, right? You know, the idea that Sue's not, and then they give us a tease at the beginning where Sue catches that big advertising thing, a ball or whatever it was, sphere for 7-Up, right? And it's in the very beginning where they're showing the montage of them and they're talking about the various villains they fought. And again, I would have loved to have seen more of them fighting against the Red Ghost and his monkeys, his apes, his super apes. I would have loved to have seen more of that. But so we get a little bit of like, no, she can move stuff that's much larger than she is. So they establish it. But when people were whining about it, which, you know, they do with everything, I did have that moment in seeing it the second time where there's the point where they're on the ship and they're trying to escape from Silver Surfer, Shalabal, and she has that moment where she reaches for Sue's stomach.
Yeah.
And her hand goes through, and then it's like that weird, you know, that thing. I wondered if, obviously it's not Franklin because I already know that Franklin's got something going on, but I wondered if Sue got some kind of an upgrade without knowing it by being in contact with the power cosmic. They don't come out and say it, but you know, if for those people that had an issue with it, I didn't really have an issue with it because I think, again, Sue is the strongest member of the Fantastic Four, hands down.
Right.
So I just, one of those things where I was like, I haven't really looked into it anywhere else, but I did think that in my mind. I'm like, well, maybe that's what happened. Is she got a bump in power from being that, you know, as that phase moment happened. But I don't know if anyone else felt that way or thought that, but that was just me.
I just thought it was like adrenaline. I thought it was that like.
It could be. No, I
thought it was like oh my God, my kid's trapped under a car and now
right.
Like I can move the thing because I'm, you know. I thought that was kind of at play.
No, I did too, and that's part of the reason why she dies. Spoiler,
right, literally kills her.
yeah, right. I get that. I mean, normally when that happens in the books, you know, she's like, my head's gonna explode, and there might be a trickle of blood out of her nose or whatever, kind of like 11 in Stranger Things.
Yeah,
but I did have that moment of like, well, maybe they did that, you know, maybe I just fixed it for them. I could take my residual check at you can send it to wherever you need to, but I might have solved that problem for the people. Again, it's not a problem because I don't think it's a problem. I know people were kind of like, how does that work? And I'm like, well, maybe that's how it worked. If you don't accept the fact that she's that strong.
Right. I dig too, and this will be a good segue to kind of get into like our favorite moments in the movie, but I do like also in that Galactus fight that they all get their licks in and they all have a moment of like, they kind of slow Galactus down for a second.
Right.
While also maintaining his strength and his sort of just like overwhelming power. Like I like that Johnny's able to blind him. I like that, you know, Reed is able to kind of like stretch his way onto his back and sort of, you know, like stab him with that pole thing. I like that. I like that Thing knocks down a building to get him off balance.
That was cool.
You know,
and after all that, they never defeat him.
Yeah,
they never defeat him. They just push him through a hole with a lot of help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But and then there it is, and Sue's key to that. But
yeah.
So I like all that. I do think that's another instance of like really the movie striking a very hard balance, and I think doing a really good job with it. But yeah, so I mean, but let's go into like specific moments. So like, what were some real standout moments that you thought like you really enjoyed, or you're like, man, they really nailed that, or like, or that surprised me?
One thing that jumped out at me was I thought it was very important to say Ben has that moment of community of like, there's going to be a ton of people in this guy's Galactus's wherever he's coming towards us, he's going to tear through a bunch of people's homes and families. I thought that was great. Because again, it was one of the things where we don't, in our quest for bigger and better disaster porn, people don't seem to take into account that your superheroes would and should care about the fact that people are going to be collateral damage. And I like the fact that that got addressed. I even liked I thought the kid that it was very comic booky of like, we're going to put everybody, and we get that in Superman as well, right? The Superman movie that just came out. There's a moment of, nope, we got to get these people out of here, so we can do all our superhero stuff.
Yeah.
Right. And I thought that jumped out at me as a moment that I thought again, and I thought that the Ben doing it was great.
Yeah.
Explaining that.
I agree. It's not. I like that we're getting those moments in things. I think.
As we should.
Yeah. Like My Adventures of Superman, where he cleans up after his fight too. I like that. I like that creators are becoming more conscientious of it and trying to figure out ways of, well, geez, like how do we not make it where like 1 billion people are dying,
right?
In these third act fights.
Well, in the Batman, we get that too, right? He's out and helping people, like basically doing Red Cross stuff at the end of that movie.
Yeah.
Where he's helping people in the daylight. I'm like, I love that too.
Yeah.
That part of that movie makes sense to me as well, that he would do that.
What was something you like, Clifton?
The opening montage I loved.
Okay.
Because I thought for a long time, no matter what setting, no matter how you did Fantastic Four, like my thinking was always, we don't need to see Origin again.
Nah.
Yeah.
There's lots of origins we don't need to see ever again for lots of characters. And this, again, like I was refraining from like bringing up Superman for comparison before, but I think there's a lot of conversation to be had about these two movies at the same time.
Yeah.
That we can like start to trickle into this conversation. I didn't want the whole conversation to be
right
falling back to Superman, but there's a lot of conversation there.
Yeah.
But it's two movies that skip the origin.
Yeah.
And have compressed storytelling.
Yeah.
And both are for the better for it.
Mm-hmm.
And going to that opening montage, like that newsreel thing, like that was always something I thought would work in any, even if it was like a modern Fantastic Four. I'm like, just show me a newsreel of how they got powers, some of their adventures they've had already, and then we're off and running.
Yep.
With them already established. And that's exactly what we got this time. My idea before we ever got like Namor, before we ever got Atlantis in MCU, was that they could introduce Namor and Atlantis in one of those newsreels. Like Fantastic Four already discovered Atlantis. And here they do it with Subterranea.
Right.
So like exactly what they do with Mole Man and Subterranea is kind of what I had in mind, but for other characters. So like I was happy to see it, and I was happy to see that it worked as well as I kind of pictured it would. So I mean, it was a very fun opening to the movie, seeing Mole Man, seeing the Fantastic Four #1 cover, the creature fighting coming out of the hole, Mole Man stealing the Pan Am building. And like, that was just his plot. He was just trying to steal the Pan Am building. Right. Why not?
Yep.
He's so well cast too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mole Man.
That guy's great.
Red Ghost and his super apes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wanted more of that.
Yeah. Well, they filmed more of that apparently.
Yeah. Yep. Nope. Wanted all of that.
I really, I mean, we talked about it in moments already, but I really like the escape scene from when they're flying away from Galactus's ship and / delivery scene of Franklin.
Right,
and I really, it's a weird, I'm not making the comparison because they're both in space or anything like that, but it felt very third act Star Wars to me, when like everything's kind of happening at the same, right? Like I'm thinking like Return of the Jedi, when you got sort of like Luke and the Emperor and the stuff on Endor, and then you got Lando and the Millennium Falcon, and everything's kind of like cutting really, really fast. It's all in one space, but I liked that it's like you got the delivery thing. You got Ben, flying the ship. You got Johnny trying to shoot Silver Surfer out of the sky, basically to slow her down.
Yeah.
Right. I just think like it was all cut together like really, really well. And I just thought like, one of the most exciting parts of the entire movie there. And also one of the scenes where the most heart, where, early in the show where we were talking about Reed and how he and Sue have like a really like loving relationship that I think works really well. I think the actors there have really great chemistry, but there's a moment in the delivery bit where as she's pushing, she goes invisible. And I like that Reed is still able to like find her forehead to like lean on her to comfort her. I really love that bit. Where like even invisible, he finds her. And it was a subtle thing, but I just thought it was nice. We don't typically see Reed in that sort of way.
Yeah.
Right.
Anything else? You want to do the speech, Silver Surfer's speech? Because I thought that scene was great too, and with like a real like tonal shift in the movie. There, it's like, you know, like the movie. I don't say this in a bad way, but the movie's like almost saccharine with like how like positive and upbeat it is and everything. And then and then Silver Surfer arrives, and it's like, I think it's like one of the first moments where we see like night and darkness. You know, and it's just sort of like melancholy, and I like that.
Yeah.
Leading up to that, we had the scene where all the police are making their moves around the city, and Reed's basically saying, I did that. Like, I took out that crime boss, took out that crime boss, took out that crime boss. And it seems like everything's under control. I think Johnny's like, that's very thorough.
Right.
And everything's under control until immediately everything's not under control.
Yeah.
In any way, I think is the like good shift, like the tonal shift that happens right there.
I like also the moments of the Galactus plan kind of coming together and the world kind of coming together. It's the moment where, you know, I at the time I'm looking for like, what's this movie actually about?
Right.
You know, and like those are the moments where what I interpret the theme to be is kind of hitting me in those moments. And it's sort of like, you know, we can do great things when we band together. We come together, and it is a little, not to get political, but the movie is a bit of a commentary to me on sort of like climate change. A little bit on a little bit of a reaction of COVID and the pandemic and stuff like that. I think that's kind of like the echoing there of sort of like the positive aspects of everybody coming together.
Right.
But yeah, what did you guys think?
I mean, that's some of what I was referring to when I said that the world, the setting buys us the plot.
Yeah.
Right.
Because that the world loves them enough, that the whole world loves the Fantastic Four enough to go along with their plan.
Yeah.
And not just be like, no, give him your baby. Just give him your baby.
Right.
Which in a more cynical
climate
real world would happen.
Yep.
The fact that like in this picturesque Norman Rockwell world, no, like they love their world loves them, and they're all in this together.
Yeah.
Is what that setting buys us in the plot in the long run. So yeah, no, I think that is definitely part of it. I think that is definitely the theme, that you're right, that they do all have to go in it together. They all have to go down to the mole man's land to stay safe, and they all do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which again is also like a big Sue moment. Like that doesn't happen.
No.
If you know, if the goodwill of Sue Storm or Sue Richards here,
Right.
doesn't
win over Harvey Elder.
Yeah. I think all that stuff. I think the press conference scene when they get back, where like Reed is rattled. This is where I think like Pedro is really good in these moments.
Yeah.
I think he plays the confidence of the smartest man in the world really well.
Right.
I think he plays a little bit of kind of the quirkiness of him, the closeness of the relationship, like I said. But I do think like in those moments where he's frightened, like that moment, the Galactus moment, and also like the way that he's testing his kid in a way where like it reads to me a little bit like I'm a little scared of my son. And that's a parenting metaphor too, right there. Like, oh, like, am I cut out for this? Am I ready to do this? Like, I think, a lot of great moments in this movie, I think.
I didn't really think about it until you just said it, but it's one of those things where we've talked about it before when we talked about Age of Ultron, the Avengers movie, and the fact that movie is basically, a lot of it is about having kids and how badly you can screw up your kids.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where I didn't really think about it till now, but this one is not quite that. But I think I agree with you when he talks about the fact that he is, he doesn't know immediately what to make of the kid or having a kid, which is a normal response, obviously. But I mean, if you're talking about up until that point, Tony Stark's kid that he had with Bruce Banner, versus Morgan Stark, who comes along later. It's a big difference. But it was one of the things that occurred to me when you were talking. I'm like, oh yeah, there's a huge they've explored a little bit of this kind of thematically a little bit before,
right?
So just something.
And, yeah, I mean, and there's a beautiful moment too where his instinct is to collect data on like what his son is,
right?
As they say, he Galactus and Silver Surfer hint that there's more to him than just a baby,
right?
That he wants to collect data on it. He wants to figure it out, see what it is, fix it perhaps. And there's a beautiful moment where he's just sort of like he lets go of it. He's just like and it's the moment of like I'm gonna let my kid tell me who they are rather than rather than try and force myself on force my personality force what I think onto them. And yeah, I think lot of great stuff. And I'll tell you for like a kid that doesn't have a whole lot of screen time, like man, they make that kid feel loved for the audience. We're like I mean, everybody like you know what I mean. Like you do get the sense that Sue is the one that makes the sacrifice, but you get the sense that any one of them would.
Yeah, sure.
Including Herbie.
well, for sure. Yeah, it's interesting when we talk about the bit at the end, the first epilogue bit, that was I didn't catch it the first time. I think I said to you that time when we watched it, Zach, she's reading The Hungry Caterpillar, which I thought was great. It's a nice bit, classic kids book, but also but also the fact that Galactus, and then but his second favorite, Franklin's second favorite book is, was it On the Origin of the Species by Charles Darwin, which is a nod to the fact that Franklin's a mutant. We don't always, in a world where we don't necessarily have Charles Xavier as the forefront of mutant study or mutant rights. Reed may not have. I mean, we only see Sue with him at that point, so we don't really know what Reed is theorized or figured out about Franklin just yet, which I thought was a nice nod without saying the M word.
Or playing the X-Men animated theme.
Right, that too.
Like they like to do now.
Yeah, exactly. That bit too.
Yeah, and that's somewhere it can go. I had a few things, just some other things, like just one comment, just something, a moment I liked the movie. It had to do with more the look. Like I liked that we got a combination of, the retro futuristic, like Jetsons style, but very modern state of the art takes on some special effects. So they're flying their like retro spaceship through a wormhole that looks like Interstellar.
Yeah.
Like it's a modern interpretation on cosmic phenomena and special effects. Like how would a wormhole look based on modern physics?
When they interpretation. When they go to like hyperspace, it doesn't look like Star Wars. It's like it's very like it's like way
like that's not retro. That's a very modern take on special effects and astrophysics theory. But in their retro rocket ship. Like I like that they did all that throughout. And then their event horizon, like their black hole, like was not retro, was not vintage, was not throwback. Like it was cool space special effects. Just one other thing. Would have liked to have seen more of Natasha Lyonne.
Yeah.
It was good. Like what we got of her is great. I always like seeing her. She's always fun. I just want more. I mean, I want more for Ben too. Like
sure.
I liked when she was cast, I was convinced she was going to be Alicia Masters.
Yeah, I think most people were.
Yeah. And I was also convinced that Malkovich was going to be Puppet Master. Because if she was Alicia Masters, of that connection. That was not the case. He ended up entirely on the cutting room floor as a different character.
Yeah, people speculate that her character was a nod to Roz Kirby.
I thought that too.
Yeah.
I thought that. When I watched,
I didn't catch her name when I saw it, but then when I was like, oh yeah, okay.
It was Rachel.
I did think it was a weird pull that I'm like, it's not Alicia, and he's typically always associated with her.
Yeah,
but I did like this take. For she's not on screen a lot. A lot is done. With look and a feel. a little bit, but it works.
I mean, there's a shot of her in the credits when they're giving her name, and it looked like there was another scene that was shot where she's like wearing like a Mary Tyler Moore 60s or 70s hat,
Right?
You know, and that was my first. I was like, oh, there's more footage with her that you didn't show us. So I definitely would have. I always, she's great. I was hoping to have more with her and with Ben, and maybe we will when we get the Blu-ray. We'll get some deleted scenes or when it goes Disney Plus. But still, I'm sure there was more stuff. There had to be. She's too big a name to not have more stuff.
Sure. Yeah, especially now. Yeah, I mean, she's definitely having a moment now for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Another bit that I like too is a very quick moment. I like kind of like the end of days melancholy that kind of falls over the city, and in that moment, I like that Ben goes to temple. There.
Yeah,
and that was another thing that acknowledging his his Jewish faith.
Yeah,
that I don't believe is ever acknowledged in any of the other movies. Am I remembering that wrong? I don't know. I never saw the last one.
You didn't miss anything.
Okay, that's what I hear.
Yeah, it's not a good movie. Apparently, there's somewhere there was a good movie made and it didn't make it to the screen. No, I don't think they touch on it in the ones with Jessica Alba and Chiklis and Evans and
right.
Yeah, it's not really there. It's mostly in comics, I think. But yeah, that was a good bit. I thought that was awesome. It was again. I feel like that scene went on longer, and they just snipped it,
sure,
to keep the plot moving. Which I would have been fine to have a little more philosophical talk at Temple about, we're facing something that could possibly end all of this.
Right.
So, I felt like that scene I felt like it needed it.
There's a lot. There's a lot that feels like it's left on the cutting room floor, but I don't. I'm with you. I mean, I think that's a good place to be in, like what you were saying about, like, I want to see more of Silver Surfer. I wanted to see more of everything, and that is a good place to be in. But I don't think the movie suffered necessarily by a lot of it, at least for me.
No, I mean it's a complete story. It was one of the things where I'd seen people complain about this with Superman, and I didn't feel it so much. Not to, as you were saying, Clifton, about making it all about these two movies, but there was a complaint that Superman didn't have much of a story. It just was all plot, and then just you had to get to the next thing. I felt that way more so with Fantastic Four than with Superman. I felt like a lot of it was, we got to get to what we got to get to because we got to get to, like you said, we got to get to set for Doomsday.
Mm-hmm.
So I just felt like there were moments that should have, like, I think Superman has moments that breathe. I think the conversation with Lois, where she's basically calling him on his nonsense of interviewing himself and, that stuff. I think the Ma and Pa Kent stuff when after he's hurt, all that breathes. I think this movie has small moments, but I don't think they get as much. And again, when you're talking about the Fantastic Four being a family, I think that it needed a little more time in those moments of them being human before they go out to their big set piece. That's just me.
One last comparison, I think, between Superman and Fantastic Four. Weirdly, this movie, I think, feels a lot more focused than Superman did, Superman had a lot of guest stars and stuff like that, but it's interesting that, like, the team movie, the movie that had to juggle 4 people, feels a lot more tighter and focused than Superman, which, not in a bad way, but Superman did not have sort of the, like this one felt to me, like we said, like they cut a lot just to kind of keep it, like, tight, very tight. So what surprised me is I was expecting a moment here that basically said, all right, and here we are. This is how we get to MCU. The rest of the Marvel universe that we've seen.
Right.
And certainly the setup is done for that to happen, but I was surprised that there was no nod or specific thing pointing to it. That the movie really is kind of self-contained.
Right. There is a nod, it's just in another movie.
Okay. Right.
Yes.
But that doesn't even show us really. That even just hints at it.
Right.
I'm talking about something at the end of Thunderbolts. But even knowing that at the end of Thunderbolts, we don't know what that is.
Right. No.
It's just a little hint that says, look, here's something.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, we still don't. They didn't put a bow on it here.
No.
To explain anything more to us.
Which I was very surprised by. I thought for sure we were going to get that moment that thread the needle.
Right.
to bring it all home.
Yeah.
But I still liked what we got. I thought that the Stinger bit was good. What that means for we're talking about greater MCU implications. It's a matter of whether I don't know, because again we I don't know if we're gonna get that when we talked about the idea of what a Fantastic Four 2 might look at. I mean, spoiler, you see Doom in the epilogue bit with Franklin, kneeling, and he has his mask off, and we don't see his face, so we don't know whether
an older
Franklin's feeling his face,
right? So we don't know if Franklin's using his powers to fix him, or whether we don't know. We don't know what that's about. We don't see anything other than the cuts
an older
away.
Franklin. So there is some space. There is some time from the end of the movie to the Stinger.
Yes. 4 years. Yeah. So who knows how many issues we've passed at this point of what they were doing. Because again, we have to get them to where they got to be in the MCU. We don't know. My speculation would be that it's probably either Doom is, Doom is one of the things where sometimes they play Doom as more than willing, like let's say Christoph, the kid that thought he was Doom, that he's not always great with that kid. But then there's other kids like Reed's kids. He has a weird relationship with. He's I know with Valeria, who obviously we're not there yet. I think he's the thing that helps save her when she's born. So anyway, it's one of those things where I don't know. My thought is that Doom would find a way to either utilize Franklin for more power, something along the lines of trying to steal the power cosmic from Silver Surfer, the Norrin Rad, as he did in the comics, or in Secret Wars where he tries to take on the Beyonder. I don't know. I don't know if that's the case, or he's just going to be like, hey, we can, either he's going to steal it or just utilize Franklin. It's hard to say. 4
years is a big jump.
Yeah.
And it does make me think for like Fantastic Four 2, if Natasha Lyonne comes back, that it's like that's probably a relationship that we're going to see like in the middle of it now, not budding, like the little sparks of it starting like we saw here between her and Ben. So that's a thing that you get from the time jump over there.
Right.
But I mean, I was certain that this movie kind of would have a similar ending like Captain America First Avenger. And I thought this movie was going to end with sort of them wide-eyed, like on another Earth. Like, whoa, what is...
I thought so, right? No, I thought so too.
Yeah,
based on other things, I thought so too.
Which, and I like that I was wrong, because I like that this movie's self-contained, and I like that it's sort of, that this movie gets that, but it does then show me then that like that's a scene in Doomsday then,
right?
Like we're gonna have to do the heavy lifting for that, like in Doomsday, like for them to come over. Probably stating the obvious, but thought I'd say it.
No, it's a valid point. I saw Kurt Busiek, comics legend Kurt Busiek on Blue Sky. He's just seen the movie and quite enjoyed it. But his comment was that he would like to see, the next chapter of these people here on the Earth we've been on, like get chapter 2 of this story on this setting on that Earth, and instead the next foray we see with them is going to be like chapter 37 in another story.
Yep,
I don't disagree. with Kurt Busiek there. Like,
and again, that was kind of Dan's point too. Was second movie is, well, you're immersed into the world of the MCU now.
Yeah.
So, we need to get you where you need to be in order to fill the bigger story. So
yeah.
So I think we'll get a little of the wide eye of what the hell is this world stuff, but I don't know if we're going to have time to even do more than a scene or so with it.
It'll be interesting to see what the Russos do with this location.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I do agree. Like, I happily want more of this, retro 60s thing. I could eat this all day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't mention we don't see Doom till the end, but there's the running gag of all of the UN meetings where there's just an empty table for Latveria, where there's no, like an empty chair behind the Latveria placard throughout the movie. So we don't know what his deal is in this world.
Right.
We know, or at least we can suspect, again, filling in gaps based on what we know from Doom from other stuff. He is drawn to any sort of power.
Right.
Doom will pursue any power cosmic, magic, whatever.
Yep.
He'll go after any power. So I do suspect he knows that Franklin's powerful, and
Yeah.
that's why he's in their living room at the end of in that stinger.
Yeah.
And how that leads to Doomsday was yet to be revealed.
So we'll get them again very soon.
Yeah.
Not very well next year, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, we were not going to have to wait very long for the FF to come back.
Right.
Nope.
I like it. Okay, quickly. Grade the movie. Let's hear your grades. Clifton?
A minus.
A minus. Frank?
I'm going to give it a solid B.
Okay. A. A for me.
Oh, all right.
All right.
I really liked it.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. That's it for Fantastic Four First Steps. Be sure to let us know how it is in the comments. If you'd like to suggest a topic, you can email us at info@letmeknowhowitis.com. Be sure to find us on Threads and on Blue Sky. And reminding you that you can find links and examples to everything we talk about on letmeknowhowitis.com, where you can check out all of our past episodes. Just please, however you may be listening, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave us a review. And we will see you guys next time.